Good evening. Did you know, dear listener, that you could watch movies with women? Did you know you could drink coffee with them, and even go to museums and other establishments together? These were, and I'm not exaggerating, some of the revelations at least a few men who went their own way would express as if they had solved the riddle of the Sphinx. They, often middle-aged and quite experienced men, had never even had thoughts like this. Not once in their lives. Other males in the same sphere would also go on about how it occurred to them, once their youth was gone and they found themselves alone and broken down, that you could bond with and forge relationships with other males. According to many, they merely deemed others within their sex as competition, or tools to exploit. The only thing I ever found to be shocking about these claims was that it could take half a century and many hard experiences to come to these concepts. Many of these ideas of theirs were ones I had envisioned and desired from a very young age. When the other kids believed in cooties, I had inclinations for the female creature, although I didn't quite understand why. I yearned for precisely what these other men would come to conceptualize much, much later in life. A companion. Someone to attend various places and events with, and someone to lose hours and nights to chatting with about everything and nothing. It never even dawned on me that other men may be some sort of competition for anything, as I also sought out various types of male companions, from casual acquaintance to serious endeavors. Of course, through living, things tend to change, and they certainly did for me as well. I would learn, in time, that even the brightest of women were little more than sanitized encyclopedias, and that my desire to pursue intellectual things with them was simply never going to happen. I would learn, in time, that most women don't particularly like art, or movies, or coffee, contrary to what, perhaps fittingly, art pieces in the movies told me about them. I would learn, in time, that the idea of companionship is, in fact, repulsive to a woman, and that few are capable of bonding, and even fewer are willing to create a real connection. I would learn, in time, that what these men had moved away from, and what so many deemed to be irrefutable fact, was actually true. There really isn't much to be had with a woman beyond that one thing, and more specifically, what it leads to. It was through this exact epiphany, acting as a strong magnetic resistance, that I would come to realize I was aging in reverse from many other men. Things I deemed to be true without a second thought when I was younger ended up being irrefutably proven incorrect later in life. Others went through the exact same growing process, but left what I would be coming to, and were going towards what I had left. It was an unusually uncomfortable and perplexing experience. This nascent escapade pertained to more than just women and male camaraderie. I became less serious when others became more serious, and often for opposite reasons. I embraced an understanding that people were to be worked around and not with, when others were, often for the first time in their lives, daring to use words to interact with those around them, albeit poorly. I, a writer with limited speaking abilities, have begun producing videos when others are fleeing to a self-proclaimed resurgence in blogging. This is not even accounting for specifics, such as how I've met many who claimed, I remember when I went through X political or cultural phase, when encountering someone who just became aware of it recently, their condescending and arrogant tone implying it self-evident everyone else will, or perhaps should, come to the same conclusions. Not limited to just opinionated fervor, one will encounter the same expressions regarding any number of things, from media to life trajectories. It's staggering just how disconnected information and experiences are. We are all sheltered from many things, with a limited knowledge of the world around us. This phenomenon used to be considered generational, but these days, generations begin and end in just a few months, not decades. In addition to this, many really do seem to only exist in particular ways until their circumstances change. Exposure and ecological conditions appear to make up more of our identity than anything internal. This aging phenomenon is not linear, however. I find myself and others when compared to others still, to be at the current point in time of many strange and often avoidant lines that contour and contort within the vicinity of those many other lines. Occasionally, these lines will be near each other. Rarely they will cross, and seldom will the ever-extending point of these lines interact, only appearing to do so temporarily. In the same way different parts of the body age differently, our psyche, drives, and sense of self also appear to age differently, but not in the same direction of becoming older that the body does. It's been said that prolonging life doesn't actually prolong life, but merely our worst years. No one lives an additional decade of their 20s, but instead, an additional decade that equates to a worse version of their 70s or 80s. Various attributes of life may be delayed or bettered to a degree, but not in any intended way. I also feel I've merely delayed the inevitable demise of particular ways of being of mine, needlessly suffering longer and stunting the growth of a possible new phase of life as a result of my resilience and hope that something would amount from it all. Much of life has also convinced me that many are merely connivingly biding their time until it's opportune for them to swoop in and exploit what some already have access to, while they're preoccupied with exploiting others in the meantime. Perhaps biological deception is also time-sensitive. I often wonder if life on this planet really is simply a wicked thing, and that further deducing it is best done by simply questioning how and in what ways it's wicked, and in what ways it can be curtailed. What these experiences and observations taught me was that we are all conceived and forged at different starting points, bestowed with particular understandings, desires, and tendencies, only to advance or outgrow them as our lives continue on. We must not be surprised, as I once was, when others we come across happen to be traveling in an opposite direction from where we are going, and towards a place we've left behind, even if we happen to have had eerily similar happenstance befall us. Even those we briefly interact with in a more personal way, no matter the connection we may feel, can quickly jolt away as the tides and winds of life dictate which general direction we find ourselves going next. Man's status quo of existing as an island has been replaced as an existence more akin to a rickety raft in our modern world. Those solitary mounds of sand and dirt, now beneath an even vaster ocean.